Joining us from Sydney is Andrew Mehrtens, one of New Zealand's great rugby players, not just because he was a great 10, but also because he was just a great guy and a great character to have. It looked like he would have been an absolute blast as a teammate. Mertz, welcome to the Sporting Rumble. How are you?
Thanks very much, guys. Nice to talk to you. And I was certainly a great opponent. I was loved by opposition teams. If they wanted to boost their stats, the ground they made with runs, they would just look for me and line me up. So, yeah, I was a favourite amongst opposition.
Yeah.
I work with Josh Cronfeld, right? And he reminds me he ruined his shoulder because he had to tackle players that ran at you.
Yeah. I don't think I get enough credit and enough gratitude from people like that, and the core as well, because without me alongside them in their sort of formative years, I doubt whether they would have developed the exact same level of work rate. So I think New Zealand rugby, particularly with McCaw, owes me a debt of gratitude, really. So, I did my best for those guys.
Absolutely. And Christoph Dominici passed away, very sad during the week, but without you missing that tackle on him too,
Jesus, John.
No one would have.
Nothing subtle about John Day. Sorry, man.
Just dive straight in.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. I'm a favourite with the French as well. They love me. So that was really sad, of course. And particularly looking back with that connection, I didn't know Dommy very, very well, but he was a Toulon boy, and I subsequently played at Toulon, even though he was a Stade Francais luminary, and did incredibly well there. But just he was a nice guy that people liked, but wasn't overly comfortable in the spotlight, particularly after that '99 semi-final where France beat us, and they were celebrated when they got back to France, and he just never seemed like he really liked the spotlight. He loved getting on the field and obviously expressing himself there, and he was a phenomenal player, but it's just really, really sad, particularly having that connection. Like, as you say, slipping off that tackle on him, I almost I feel better connected probably in the 20 years since rather than in that actual tackle.
I could tell because we've seen that highlight a fair bit this week, unfortunately. But I could tell you were reading the bounce of the ball. You could see it was going to go horribly wrong.
Well, to be fair, I mean, as we know, I wasn't a wonderful tackler, so I wasn't looking for opportunities to tackle. So I was actually watching the ball, and he did really come out of a little bit of a blind spot for me, and he just, hit it with pace and accelerated, and, I know good tacklers, I guess, would have held on and stuff like that, but I'm sure he would have beaten quite a few people in that moment.
Definitely.
But, we weren't to know that they were going to get their tails up, of course, so much, but, it really started them getting confident in that game, and then everything they touched turned to gold.
Yeah. So, Mertz, it's Nick Ratto here. So you were saying that you don't like to tackle. So the rugby field is quite a small place to sort of hide. What would be your tactic for those people who are playing on a rugby situation, want to avoid a tackle? What did you used to do back in the day to try and avoid some of those tackles?
Well, there are a number of things, really. Tactically, if you're making a lot of noise and a lot of movement by chopping from one side to the other, racing across to the blind side, for example, really frantically, as if you sense real danger. If you could work out that it's almost definite that the ball is going to get passed out the open side, but you go ripping across behind the ruck to get to the blind side, like, I just want to get there and save the day, fellas.
Yeah, nice.
And then the ball gets chucked out the other way. You're like, oh, damn it.
Missed another one.
And then the other thing is to be really the coordinator, to make sure that you're providing such a voice and such organisation in terms of the defensive line that you're so essential to that reconstitution of the defensive line that you cannot possibly get yourself caught up in a tackle and be out of that next phase. So, I think there's a multi sort of approach you can take there. And ultimately, I didn't want to be too greedy. I mean, I'm the lucky guy who gets to try and kick goals, and I tend to get the ball first, from when Justin Marshall finally decided he wanted to give it to me. I wanted to let other guys have some fun as well. And, those blokes who really love the tackling and stuff, who am I to get in and try and spoil their fun? So I was a giver.
Let's go back to a favourite memory, maybe. River Plate 2001 in Buenos Aires. The Pumas, Felipe Contampone. Can kick for touch, and he can seal a famous victory. The Pumas beating the All Blacks for the first time, but he misses touch, Mertz. He misses touch.
Well, it might look like that. He actually made touch. I took a quick line out and threw it to Ben Blair.
Oh, did he make touch?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. So it was a line-out win for me, although those sort of ones never appeared in the stats on a Monday. When I used to see reports saying how good we'd been in the set piece, for example, the scrums and the line-outs, I'd take a certain pride in that. Because, taking a quick line-out, it counts.
And Ben Blair, what an exponent of the line-out too.
Yeah.
The only problem there was that Ben Blair went, exactly, had no lifters back there, unfortunately. But the unfortunate thing about that was he cracked through a gap and he had one player outside steaming down the touchline, and unfortunately it was one Scott Robertson, and he dived over for the match-winning try. Nobody remembers the fact, because we went ahead on that try, nobody remembers the fact that I kicked the conversion, by the way. But,
no, they don't.
Anyway, he dived over in the corner, and I think at the New Zealand Rugby Awards, where he got Super Rugby Player of the Year that year, subsequently, his first thing when he got up on stage to talk about the Super Rugby season was, "Thanks, Ben, for the pass." Like, as in, just in case all of you have forgotten, I scored the winning try for the All Black Andrew Mehrtens.
Oh, that's good stuff. And what do you make of the All Blacks at the moment, Mertz? The back-to-back losses and the loss to Argentina. I mean, I've panicked. I've pushed the panic button. What about you?
Well, I think they could play better, and I think they recognise that themselves. So that's probably the first thing. Performance-wise, we know they can do better. I think we've got to accept as well that the rest of the world has come up a lot, and that's largely due to how good the All Blacks have been for the last 10, 12 years consistently. So, the world has come up. They're using their resources better. They're big, strong players. When you look at the likes of England who beat us in the World Cup, that you you almost predicted, not specifically the team, Moles, but you certainly predicted that at one point last year. And, England, South Africa and Argentina particularly, they're getting the best out of their resources, and they've got good organised defences. And I think we're in a period now where defence is dominating again a little bit, and until such time as the attack learns to unlock that defence, then we'll get into a period of attack sort of ascendancy. But I think the All Blacks will be a little more raw and aggressive this week against Argentina. I think, we know we're a skillful team, and as such, I think at times in the phases we try to manipulate defences, and that means that sometimes we're going up at sort of 80 to 85% of speed and aggression with a view that maybe we're going to tip the ball on to one of our teammates and read the play, whereas, sometimes there's something to be said for just going headlong at it, 100%. And Sam Cane, the times we moved forward in the last match was when, Sam Cane just put his head down and charged. And I think we'll see a bit more of that from the All Blacks.
So it's a big topic here on the show, John Day, especially about rush defence, Andrew Mehrtens. So how did you and how would you attack a rush defence in the past?
Well, you've got to give yourself time to so it's often a matter of, you don't want to get too deep as a 10, but you've got to set yourself a depth that allows you to get the ball to wherever it needs to go based on how fast the defence is coming up, So, and sometimes it's just not running onto the ball too hard. Now, that's the problem, because if you're not running onto it, you're kind of waiting for the opportunity for gaps and hoping that the defence flies up so quickly that they can't adjust. Yeah. But you're still not really, hitting that contact at 100%. So it's a real balancing act. But I think, so it's important for the 10 to be setting the depth the whole time. If you get on the front foot on one phase, of course, they can flatten up a little bit. But, I think the other thing is, and the All Blacks have said for a while, they don't want to go wide until they've earned the right to go forward. But at times, and I think Australia showed that as well, even though they weren't good enough at finishing off against the Argentinians, they showed that, if the space is wide, if the opportunities are wide, then you do have to try and get the ball there. And then you've got to balance it out by still going, you can't just get too predictable going wide all the time. So I just think, I think maybe the All Blacks went in with a bit of a plan to go through the middle a little bit to earn the right to go wide, whereas the opportunity might have already been there at the start. So maybe they'll have looked at that too. Yeah.
Moles has made a big call last week. He doesn't want Richie Mo'unga in the 10 jersey anymore. He wants Beauden Barrett back there. I'm probably asking the right guy here. Good Canterbury man. Wore the 10 jersey a lot. Yeah. You also wore the 15 jersey near the end of your career, didn't you? As well. So how do you see the whole...
Even at the start, when I had a bit more speed, and I love playing fullback, and there's a natural alignment between 15 and 10, obviously, and I think it helps a young 10 to be playing at 15 to see the broader picture, and then to apply that back when you're playing at 10. But I mean, I think Barrett likes the freedom of 15, but that's when he can get the ball enough. And if a team is not kicking it down to him, then getting that guy up involved in the play and as many touches as possible is really key. But I mean, I do like them both. I think they've both got a lot to offer the team. I can accept that people say, look, play people in their best positions, but the other thing is we're well past the day when you'd pick your best fullback, your best centre, and start your top 15. I mean, the way that they approach it these days is actually sometimes to work out how do we want to finish the game. So what players do we want on the field at the end of the game, and how do we manipulate the squad to start off in a way that allows us to have our 15 that we want at the end, and whether that's the last 30 minutes or whatever. So, there are a lot of things that they're contemplating. We've got both Barretts on the field. I'm not convinced that wing is Geordie Barrett's best position, but there are reasons for the coaching staff wanting him to play there. And of course, you can't put both Barretts in the 15 jersey.
Well, you could. It'd be quite funny, but probably not very effective.
Coming too. I'm looking forward to a full back line of Barretts, the Barrett line. That would be interesting. I think a couple of sisters that probably sound like they could hold their own in that team as well.
Yeah, mate, that would be very interesting to see. I'd like to see that. Now, Mehrtens, what's it like in an All Blacks team where they have lost? And how edgy is it? How hard is it to be in that environment? Is it very quiet? Is it determined? Is it just the longest week of your rugby life?
Yes, it is. It's very determined is the right word. And you're asking the right guy. I spent a large part of, unfortunately, my All Black career having lost to Australia and not having the Bledisloe Cup. And of course, I was part of that team in '98 that lost 5 in a row.
I didn't want to bring that up, man.
Yeah, he did.
All to Australia and South Africa at the time, but that's small consolation.
They were bloody good too.
Yep. They were, and we had a couple of nail-biting ones. But anyway, 5 losses is what you'll read, so fair enough. It is tough. I mean, at the same time, they've got to be methodical about how they approach it. They've got to be trying not to let emotion, I guess, take over during their week. But there will certainly have been an edge this week. They won't. I mean, I think it was 2011 the last time the All Blacks lost 2 in a row. Goodness knows when it was. It was probably back to my day when we lost 3 in a row. So they certainly won't want to be the guys to do that. On top of being the first team to have lost to Argentina, so there will be a bit of edge this week. At the same time. They don't want to sort of go into their shells. They don't want to be inhibited. They're there to play rugby and they're there to use their skills. So I guess just finding that balance between, having a bit of daring and playing to their strengths, but at the same time just being very, very mindful of not making mistakes.
So
I think holding onto the ball will be important. Like Australia showed against Argentina, holding onto the ball early. Like I say, they did create opportunities. They just weren't good enough to finish them off. And I think the All Blacks are better at finishing them off. It's just their challenge is to create the opportunities, which we didn't really do against Argentina last time.